starting this will be so hard, which is why I'm gonna just jump right in. So hello, welcome to my first ever knitting podcast that I actually thought about doing ages, and today I felt brave enough to start. So let's see where this goes and get on. I'm Teresa, also known as Knitting Hood on Instagram and Ravelry. I've been knitting for a long time, I guess since I'm like 14 years old, which makes it this year my 15th year of knitting. So I have a lot to share. Also, why I want to do this podcast is I'm living in the south of Germany, which isn't known for being like a knitting hotspot, which also means that, I do have some knitting friends, but I don't have a large local knitting community, which is why I'm kind of craving a bit of exchange and community, and I thought a podcast would be a good way to go. Also, I am a huge podcast watcher myself, so I thought I could contribute to the genre. And yes, maybe as a heads up, English is not my native language, but I'm quite fluent, so I think we'll get there. I just thought it would be more accessible if I did it in English, because knitters around the world ideally can watch me about knitting. So yes, I guess that's almost it for who I am and what I want to talk about. I'm 27 years old, like I said, living in the south of Germany. And besides my job, I have a job in the creative industry. I really like to get creative with my hands, because in my job I'm doing a lot of laptop work. Using my hands and doing something creative that is not on a mouse, on a keyboard, really does the trick for me. So for this podcast, I really want to stick to the established structure that these knitting video podcasts have. So I introduced myself, so check. I want to talk about what I recently finished, so just what has been on my needles and on my mind at the moment. And then I want to talk about my works in progress. And maybe something exciting to show. I went to Ireland 3 weeks ago with my sister, and of course I had to visit the yarn shops and look at the sweaters that they have. So yes, I can show you some acquisitions. I'm not a huge yarn buyer, but whenever I'm on holiday I try to look out for the local yarns. So yes, maybe because I'm always interested in it, what I'm wearing is the Farnham tee by the Knit Pearl Girl. I knitted this, I guess, maybe 2 or 3 summers ago, and I've worn it a lot. I really like it. It's DK weight, so a bit thicker, but for the climate that we have here in Germany, it's really appropriate. Like, I can wear it no problem. Today we have around 28 degrees Celsius, and this is fine for me to wear. It was some off-white color and this pretty sage green, but I have all of the notes in my Ravelry. I really try to keep it up to date there and use it as my knitting journal. So all of the colors will be there, and maybe I'm also gonna do the fancy podcaster thing where I put it on the screen. Let's see. I believe I knit the size 4 or 3, and if I stand up, it's cropped. I kind of like it. And it's actually one of the few patterns that I have knit twice already. I knit one for my mom as well, because I had quite a lot of yarn left from this white color. And then I got, it was like a dark jeans blue, that I held with it, and made her also one of these. It also has a really fancy construction. I hope you can see. It uses short rows to make these stripes really pretty, and yeah, here I kind of butchered it a bit, but on the second one that I made for my mom, it turned out pretty nice. Yes, alrighty. So then I'm gonna take a sip of water and I'm gonna start with my recently finished objects. My most recent finished object, which is the only large object I can show you today, is actually one that I pulled out of its winter hibernation for this video, because I already put it like in a Ziploc bag to keep it safe from any moths or something that would fly around. And it is the Step-by-Step sweater by Florence Miller, which is also known as Handmade by Florence. And I used this pattern to use up a lot of my like scrap yarn, and maybe a little preamble to this. As a long time knitter, I kind of acquired a lot of single balls of yarn that are not really scrappy in the sense that it's 10 grams left, but it's like a whole 50 grams left. But that, I mean, it's not enough that you could make a whole project, like a hat or something, always uses more than 50 grams. But then it was like different qualities, so I couldn't really do something stripy, and yeah, it kind of really stressed me out that it sat in my stash for so long. And then I also had some leftover lace weight scraps like mohair or alpaca scraps that I also didn't really know what to do with. Yeah, and since like the very beginning of my knitting journey, I kind of jumped onto the mohair bandwagon and bought a few skeins, and then realized I really cannot tolerate mohair, or at least I haven't found one that is not really prickly on my skin. So I also had those left, and really you cannot really sell like one skein or one ball of yarn, right? So that is why, long story short, I decided to just go with it and start a scrappy one ball of yarn leftover project. And I'm really thrilled how it turned out, because it could either be really ugly, which would have been also fine, then I would have just worn it like around the house when it's really cold, or it could turn out really stylish, and I myself think that it has this ugly stylish vibe, and I love it. So talked enough about it now. This is it. It's a raglan construction, as you can see, and it is really easy. It's also a free pattern. I used big needles for this. I think it was like 7mm needles that were used, and I started with the softest scraps I had, which was, I believe, some knitting for olive merino and some alpaca silk, and then went on to in the more scratchy, mohairy scraps. So for example, here you can see I used a color changing mohair with different DK weight scraps, and this was, I believe, the Drops Nepal, which is not a DK, but I decided that I don't care, that it is maybe a bit thicker, and if you look really closely you can see that it kind of bulges out a bit here where the yarn is thicker. So yeah, but I didn't really care. Yes, then I also have this large section, which was, I believe, some West Yorkshire spinners yarn that I bought online, and then when it arrived I realized that it is really gonna be too scratchy for me to wear it as a hat or something. So I put it here where my arms are, which are not that sensitive, and yes, just had fun. It was also really cool to use up a lot of scraps because I used DK, a little bit thicker than DK, and then also used fingering held double. So yes, a lot of yarn went into this project, and I think I'm gonna insert some B-roll. Never thought that I would say that in my life. But yes, this is how it looks. I like it. I also think that the colors play nicely. It's like a mix of grey, brown, beige. Yeah. It is really warm though. So it's the perfect home office sweater. And yes, I don't think I have more to say about it, unless that it sheds like crazy. I don't know which yarn it is that sheds this much. I think it's one of the mohairs. It was some kind of drops mohair maybe. Yeah, and I, especially at the cuffs, I do find it a bit scratchy, but to be honest, I just wore a long sleeve thin sweater underneath, so that kind of worked out. Yes, that's it for my step-by-step sweater, which I really love. It was a dopamine knit. And for me, I really like to have control over my knits, if that makes sense. And so in this project where I just like picked the colors as I went along, it was a really fun process. I enjoyed it and I can recommend. If you have any questions, also maybe you want to get some yarn out of stash, feel free to like ask. Alrighty, that out of the way, I did also finish another thing that I don't have with me right now, but I can show you a swatch, and I believe I put it somewhere. Nice. Here it is. Recently I finished the Korshavn cardigan by Stricke Café, and this is the swatch I made. Whoops, this side. It is this really pretty basket weave texture, which I have never done before. And the yarn I used was Pasquale Pinta. And then it recommends using mohair held with a DK, but as I said, I cannot really use or tolerate mohair well, so I went with an alpaca yarn instead, and I think it was La Mana Piura, which is 100% alpaca, and I've used it in previous projects and liked it a lot, so thought I would give it a go. And yes, the Pinta has a really cool composition of yarns. It is, I believe, wool. Not sure if it's merino, just some kind of wool. And then silk and rami, which are like natural fibers or plant fibers. They're all natural fibers, but plant fibers. So I thought it would be a really nice summer cardigan, especially with the lace kind of letting some air through. And yeah, I was also really inspired because I saw it on Nora Knits podcast, and just started to knit it. But while I was knitting it, I kind of had the feeling that it was gonna be a bit small, but I was on gauge, so I was not that worried and thought, okay, maybe blocking is gonna fix it. I knitted to the measurements that I believed would fit me after blocking, then went to block it. And maybe important, I put it into like cold water with my wool detergent in a bucket, and then put it into my washing machine to spin it. And that went well, but it didn't grow as much as I hoped it would. So I debated whether I should fix it or not, and then went back in, like ripped out a large amount of the of my cuffs on the arms, knitted the arms longer. I believe I also knitted the body longer. Yes, then I also modified it to have a double knitted button band, and yeah, a lot of work went into it. And then when I lengthened it, I thought, okay, now we're good to go. I'm gonna wash it once more and then I can finally wear it. And then, yeah, not sure if that was the smartest thing to do, but I kind of didn't want to have to fuss about with like the bucket of water and yeah, I don't know. And where, like, I put it into my washing machine, which has a cold and like hand wash cycle. And I thought, well, it's just gonna like chill in the water a bit and then it's gonna spin. And I also, like, I put it into the spinning cycle once before. So I thought, okay, it's gonna be okay. And then when I went to take it out, it felt really weird. It didn't really shrink a lot in size, so I don't think it got felted or anything, but like the shine was kind of lost and it felt really hard and I cannot really, I don't know what happened. Maybe there still was some like normal washing powder left inside of the machine a bit, and that is what kind of made it weird. But like you can see, this swatch here is really stretchy and it also has a really nice shine from the silk, I guess. And yeah, the cardigan totally lost all of that when I put it out of the washing. And it was also just too small for me then, especially on the shoulder sections. It just looked like I was wearing something that I had outgrown. But luckily, my sister is slimmer and shorter than me. So I asked her if she wanted it because I also don't think like ripping out and doing it again would have worked because something had happened with the yarn or to the yarn. Like I said, it felt really stiff and weird. So if any of you have experienced something like this, please let me know. I'm really curious to know what happened there. I also think it may have been, or it may have something to do with the plant fiber that is in there. Not too sure. But it fits my sister pretty well, also suits her coloring. She's a lot lighter than me. And yeah, she wore it to our trip to Ireland, and I maybe can insert some footage of her wearing it if she allows it. Yes, so at least someone is wearing it. But yes, just wanted to put it out there that maybe don't put your stuff into the washing machine, test it on a swatch first. Yeah, so I mean, I like the project, I like the knitting experience, but I don't think I will ever knit this again. Oh, and also maybe one thing to note, I believe the designer, Strikke Kaffe, is a Norwegian designer, and I guess Norwegian or these Scandinavian patterns are for the most part not that detailed. They don't really hold your hand for every step of the way, which is fine. But for this project, I, as an experienced knitter, sometimes was like, what should I do? How do I do this? So yeah, it could have maybe used a little bit more guidance, especially for like biting off the shoulders, which you did with a 3-needle bind off. And I kind of felt that, I mean, I did it to pattern, but it doesn't really look as clean as I hoped it would. So yes, maybe be aware if you also want to knit this that it's not the most detailed pattern out there. Okay, where am I gonna put this? Yes, that was my 2 most recent finished like big projects. And then I kind of craved smaller things, also because the weather is heating up here, and I also think having something small, you can also work on it when it's hot because it doesn't lay on your lap or like add additional warmth to you. So I finished 2 small things, both by Petite Knit, which is maybe not that exciting, but she does have great basic patterns. So I finished an Oslo hat, which kind of matches my shirt. Yes, so this is it. I have knit those before. It is a DK weight hat pattern, which features this cool construction where you kind of have a double folded layer here, then you knit some, like you knit kind of reverse stockinette to make this fold line, and then you can just fold it. And I think it looks really neat. Also makes for a great gift knit, I think, because it is so simple. Yeah, and the yarn is really special. It is some yarn that my sister brought back for me from Iceland, where she went last year, I believe. And I think I will put it here if I don't remember correctly. It's called like Ice Garn Nordic. And it is 100% merino. And yeah, so not the classic Icelandic wool per se, but an Icelandic brand. And I really like the color. I like these cooler tones, greens, blues, so I think it's gonna be a good addition to my wardrobe. Yeah, nothing more to say about it, I guess, other than I did knit the brim a bit shorter because I don't like having a lot of poof in my hats. I don't enjoy that style a lot, so there it is. Not too exciting. Oh, and I think I used over 100 grams, which I don't think is ideal because you are left with this, again, random amount of yarn. I think I have like 30 grams now left of one skein, but yeah, we'll see. Maybe I will start a totally scrappy blanket in the future or something, or do another step-by-step sweater if stuff accumulates. And then I did another little accessory, which is a Sophie scarf. I did a small one. I have also made Sophie scarves before in various sizes. This is my smallest one to date, and I think I can wrap it around just fine, like once. And that was the intention, like I wanted to have a smaller one to wear when it's not that cold. And let's see, I'm not sure if I can actually wrap it around, maybe. Oh yeah, that also works. So if I wanted to, I can also wrap it around twice. So here I used Eco Puno, which is a yarn by Lana Grossa, which is like really easily available here in Germany. Not too sure where this yarn brand comes from, if it maybe is a German yarn brand, not too sure, but it does contain some cotton, like it's a cotton wool blend, so it's not that heavy and not that warm, so I like it. It also has this fuzzy halo. Can you see that? It does have a little bit of a glow. I don't think so. Oh, well, you just have to believe me. And yes, this one used 20 grams of yarn, held single on 3.5 millimeter needles. And I believe the Eco Puno is somewhat of a fingering weight, a little bit heavier maybe. Yeah, worked out nicely. And that leads me into my whips, because I have another one on the needles, same yarn, same needle size, but I thought, okay, I now have 30 grams left of this 50 gram ball, and I really like the color, and a friend of mine has requested a Sophie scarf in red, so I thought, okay, I'm just gonna do another one. And also I think it's gonna be good if it turns out a little bit longer, and with 10 grams more that should be the case, so I can then kind of present my friend the two options and ask her if she wants to have a smaller one or a larger one, which I think is cool. So here we go. And also maybe a little tip. because I am really late to the Sophie scarf hype, and that is because when I first started one, when it came out, I was really lost on how to count how many rows I have already knitted, because I think in this garter stitch pattern, at least for me, it's not that easy to see where I did an increase and how many of those garter bumps are actually one row. And it kind of threw me off. I had to start my very first one over and I didn't end up finishing it. So yeah, I kind of just didn't have the motivation or urge to knit on another Sophie scarf. But when was that? I think it was definitely this year when I was sick. I kind of craved something really simple and thought I would give the Sophie scarf another go. And here we are, a little bit later and a little bit smarter, because I am now placing stitch markers into the increase stitch. Can you see this? So whenever I'm doing an increase, I place the marker directly into the stitch that I increased or decreased then. And I then know that between, this is why I have two markers, I now know that in between this marker and this marker, so the next increase, I have to see 3 of these garter bumps, and then I'm ready to do another increase. And then I just, I did an increase here, and now I will knit up until I see 3 garter bumps between this marker and my needle. And then whenever I'm doing the next increase, I'm gonna take this marker out of this stitch and put it into the next. So I always have a reference point to see how it looked before. So that really helps me to keep track of the increases, and that is what makes this a mindless project for me, because if I had to count it or look at it and guess where I'm at, it wouldn't be mindless for me, because it is hard to tell for me where I am. So yes, that was a lot of talk, just to say that I am knitting the exact same thing again, and especially in this warmer weather, I love having a small project with me, and also because it contains cotton, it is really nice to work with it. Oh, and maybe here you can see the halo a bit better. Yes, there it is. Alrighty, so this is my first work in progress. Not that exciting, I guess. But I do have a really exciting work in progress, at least for me. I am taking part in a test knit by Ann-Kathrin Stoll, which is, I believe, Ann-Kathrin on Instagram. And she's really known for doing these more unusual constructions of garments, and in my opinion, she's also the queen of shaping with decreases and increases, because I have test knitted for her some times before, and I was also part of the test knit for a dress, which is the Lunch at Tiffany's dress. And this one has magnificent shaping. It looks so good, and it's all done with increasing and decreasing on different parts of the garment. I will insert a photo. Yes, so when she came out with the No Basic Sweater, I was intrigued by the name, and I saw that it kind of was constructed both ways, you knit vertical, but then you also knit horizontal, and I was really intrigued how that worked. And yeah, being, like I said, a long time knitter, I crave these more special constructions, also here with the Farnham tee, and let's show it. So I am not done yet, and it is due on Sunday, which is tomorrow for me. So I think I'm a bit of a bad test knitter, because I still have one sleeve to go, but I checked with her and she said it's fine if I only have one sleeve. That is why I have already blocked it, so I can give her the measurements already. And this is her. Ooh, I'm gonna lean back. I'm also think I'm gonna insert some B-roll. Gonna be easy for this one because I can just throw it on. But the construction is really cool. So you start with knitting the shoulder panels and then this front section, which is done flat, and also the back section is knitted flat like this here. And it looks really funny when you start it because you basically have like a hole for your head, like a collar, and then these two flaps at the front and the back that kind of just hang down, which, not gonna lie, made it a bit hard for me to determine the length that I wanted to have. But yes, that's the only downside. And then you pick up all the way, oh my god, I'm gonna show this maybe on this side. Then you have these flaps and you're picking up stitches like on the back, from down on the back, over the shoulder, and then on the front until you get to the end again. And then you knit this part flat. I think you can see it, and it's so cool because the stitches change direction. And you knit it in a certain way to also shape the shoulders, which you can see here, like this part. And then you put the stitches for the sleeves on hold and knit down here. And then you seam these two panels together with a 3-needle bind off. You can see it here. I mean, it doesn't look seamless or invisible, but it doesn't bother me at all, because it gives the garment a bit more structure, which I like. And then you do the same for the other side, obviously. And then you pick up stitches for the hem down here. Like here you already have them on hold, but for the sides you have to pick it up, do a hem. And I then decided to go for the V-neck collar, which I normally don't do, but I thought it would be cool to have a V-neck in my collection. So yeah, I did the V-neck, which is done in double knitting. I think it turned out pretty nice. And yeah, now I'm onto the second sleeve, onto the first decrease set. And yeah, I don't think I'm gonna finish it until tomorrow. That would be crazy. But I will work on this exclusively until the sleeve is done. So I think I will have it finished next week sometime, I hope. Yes, for the yarn, I already had something in stash that worked, and I checked with Ann-Kathrin if I could use it, because I believe in the original sample she uses Mayogarn honey alpaca and their mohair, but I would have had to substitute the mohair anyway, and I have this yarn in stash, which I think is my favorite yarn of all times, and it has one reason: it is so lightweight. My god, people, it's so cool. Because this is the La Mana Como yarn. It's this one here. It comes in these cute little 25-gram balls and is a DK weight, like it has 120 meters per 25 grams. And normally when you do the math, that would, like, if you calculate it for 50 grams, that would give you a fingering weight, right? So for 50 grams, you have then 240 meters. But they somehow treat this yarn that it weighs half of what a normal DK would, which is why this 25-gram ball is equivalent to a 50-gram ball of DK if that makes sense. So your garment will weigh half of what it would with a standard or not treated DK yarn. And I do have, I have used it before in my champagne cardigan by Petite Knit, and I love this cardigan. That is my most worn, most favorite thing I have ever done. And I think part of the reason why I love it so much is that it is so light, but still warming, but it doesn't weigh you down. Also, the stitches look better because they are not weighed down. I just love this thing. And yes, that's why I thought I would like to use this again. I also had it in stash because I got some time ago a voucher for my birthday from a yarn shop in Munich that carries this. And I thought, what better way to treat myself for my birthday than to get my favorite yarn of all time. And yes, so I will have to check if it actually weighs like half of the normal sweater that Anne-Catherine has designed, but I will ask her if she can send me the weight because I'm really curious. And yes, I think that is it, what I have to say about this. Also, if you have any ideas, I have, I guess, maybe 4 balls of this left when I'm done. And then I also have 4 balls of this left from my champagne cardigan. So I have 8 balls, which is 800 meters, around 800 meters of DK, in this greyish color and then in a white. So if you have any ideas what I could do with it, I think it will be too little to do a sweater, but maybe a top. I thought maybe a sabai top in stripes, or the Sailor Swift top by Kutoba Kika in stripes would also be cool. And I think, I mean, it is merino, but I do have summer tops in wool and I can wear them, so that would maybe be an idea. Yes, so let's see. Love this yarn. Shout out if you haven't tried it before. It is a bit more expensive, but I believe it costs around the same as a double Sunday by Sandnes Garn. And it can be misleading because of the 25 gram balls, but I mean, you need exactly the same amount, and then, I mean, it's not more expensive than, I guess, the double Sunday by Sandnes Garn. So yes, that is my No Basic Sweater, soon to be released. And oh, she also has, she has basically 4 versions of this. One with a V-neck and stockinette, but then there is also a V-neck and a cable pattern, and both options also come with a crew neck. So that is really cool. Gives me the Creya Bayer vibes with all the options. Alright. Then another long term whip is my Frankie Genser by Sandnes Garn. I cast this on when the Sandnes Garn booklet came out. I have it here. When this booklet came out, which I see was, I guess, 2022. So it is a long-term whip, and I think it has to do with the color that I chose. Back then, this jelly bean green was all the hype. Everyone knitted something in the jelly bean green. I think just like it is now with the butter yellow trend. And I jumped on it, and I still like the color. But I'm not sure if it's my color. But I also didn't dislike it so much that I thought, okay, no, I'm just gonna rip it out and sell it. So that is why we have my most languishing whip. I can maybe work out how long it has been on my needles and put it on the screen, because it has been. So this is her, and she is all tangled in my barber cords. this is her. Oops, wrong way. Do I suit this? Do we like this? I'm not too sure. So this is the Frankie Genser by Sandnes Garb, and I have 2 sleeves complete, and I'm now on the body, and I just started the, like, it does have a long ribbed section down here, and that is what I just started, and oh man, it does feel really nice. I should just get this finished. And yeah, this is the state that it has been in for a long time. I am using the recommended yarn, which was also, I think, required to get the booklet. It is Kors by Sandnes Garb in the Jelly Bean Green colorway. And maybe another thing, why this sweater is languishing. I have just heard good things about the Kors yarn, but I cannot say that I love it a lot. It kind of feels like it has this nylon tube where the fiber is blown through, which is the nature of a blown yarn, but I don't love it. Maybe it's the blown yarn that I don't like, or that I can feel that there is this nylon tube that kind of my needles always get stuck in. So yeah, I think the yarn knitting experience and the color is what makes me hesitate, but I should get this finished, and I will get it finished after the No Basic Sweater is done. I will get this done. Putting it out there. Yes. So, and I do have one summer whip on the needles right now, to hopefully get it done in time for this good weather, but like I know me, I will get it done in autumn, and then it will languish during winter, and then I can wear it next summer, but that is also fine. And it is another June top by Petite Knit, and I have done one before, which is this little thing. And I love it. It is really simple, like it's really plain. It's a tank top. The back is a bit lower than the front. It has I-cord edges and is knit on a DK weight. And this was Laine du Nord silk, luxury silk, something along those lines. And it has these really pretty speckles. I love it. And I really like the construction and size of it, because it does hide bra straps really easily. Like you can just chuck it on and don't have to think about what bra I'm gonna wear, or yeah, it's just a no fuzz summer tank, and I wanted to knit it again. Which is why I started a new one, and I have it in this basket here. It is out of 100% linen yarn, which I have never knit with before. And I am a bit concerned because it feels really rough, but I guess it will soften. And this is why I brought the finished June top, because I've just started it. There is nothing exciting to show, except for the yarn. It is this pretty lavender color that I kind of was drawn to. And why I have it in my basket here is I am using 3 strands held together of the Lino Muka by Wollen Berlin, which is a German yarn store in Berlin. And they do carry their own linen yarn, which is this one, and they have fantastic colors. Like the color range is so nice, and they also promote it as being very sustainable because it's made in Lithuania. And yeah, was just curious to try. And my mom has also tried it already in a really pretty electric blue color, and she likes it. She just said that it is still, even after washing, very hard. So let's see how this goes. And yeah, I cannot say a lot about it, except for I normally hate knitting on wooden needles. I don't know, it's a sensory thing. Just the feeling of like wooden needles and they scratching against each other triggers something. But for this yarn, it was really difficult to knit on my normal metal needles because it just kept sliding away. So I am using wooden needles here, and the experience is okay. And also this top is not gonna take too long, so I think it is fine. All right, that's it for my works in progress. And now I'm gonna just take a sip of water and get the yarn that I got in Ireland. Exciting. Let's start. So my sister and I went to Ireland, and we did a little road trip. Like, we landed in Dublin, then drove over to Galway and visited some national parks that are north of Galway. I believe it was called Killarney, maybe? Yes, there were a lot of sheep there. It was so cute. I'm gonna insert photos because if you're a knitter, you like sheep. They were just so cute, my god. And I was on a mission to get some Irish yarn, and there weren't any shops open in Galway when we were there, so I just looked up yarn stores in Dublin and came across This Is Knit, which is also located in this really cool old-fashioned shopping square, court, yard center thing, and it was just heaven in there. I really liked it. It was also really stylish. And we were just looking around, and then a lovely lady who worked there came up to me and asked if I needed help, and I just took the chance and asked her if she can recommend some Irish yarn to me. And yeah, she was really nice and told me that they do have Irish yarn, and they also dye their own sock yarn in the shop, which isn't Irish yarn, but it is dyed in Ireland. And yes, I got 3 things. I only planned to get like 1 souvenir skein, but it turned out to be 3 because I just fell in love. So first up we have the sock yarn that is dyed by This Is Knit, and their brand is called Townhouse Yarns. And it is this pretty skein of sock yarn. It's called Clarendon Sock, and it's superwash merino 80%, cashmere 10%, and 10% nylon. Fingering weight, and I just loved it. I think this was a leftover skein they had. The shade is called Agent Macau. Yes, and I really love that it is this kind of cherry red bordering on pink, and I just really want to make like really plain socks with it, maybe a ribbed, like a 2x2 ribbed cuff all the way, then a short row heel, which is my preferred heel, and then just a standard sock to make the yarn shine. And I can imagine that I will cast this on rather sooner than later, because I am craving smaller projects with the weather being so warm. So yes, but I wanted to keep it nice and clean in its shape so I could show you. This is where I didn't wind it up, but really excited, my god. All right. And then I had a look around and was so drawn to this color, which is this sky blue, and maybe you see a theme. At the moment I'm really drawn towards these sky baby blue colors, and it also has some speckling. This is Studio Donegal, which is, I believe, a village in Ireland who do or wear They do a lot of like sourcing wool spinning. They also weave yarns, I guess, because I saw a lot of throws from Studio Donegal. But this is their knitting yarn. Like I said, it's called Darny and is a 4-ply yarn. And the shade is called 8815. Don't know the name. Yes, I have 100 grams. And right now I'm thinking about doing the Carina shawl by Sorry Nordland, because I am craving a complicated cable knit. I actually have never really done a really complicated cable knit before. I have done the sweater number, well, 11. I will put it on the screen, the one by My Favorite Things Knitwear that has the same cable all over. But I have never done a knitting project with a lot of cables, only socks, but not a larger project. So this is what this is gonna be. I hope that 100 grams will give me a decent enough size, but let's see. That is the plan. And it is also for an Irish yarn, because this is 100% Irish yarn. It feels soft, it feels kind of dry, but lofty. So yes, I think it's a 2-ply yarn, which I normally don't love, but this just spoke to me. And then the last thing I got was like really 100% authentic Irish wool. And it is this color here. And the brand is called, I always search it, it's called, I just see that it is also spun by Donegal Yarn. I think it's called Erie Crew or something. I will write it on the screen. Yeah, but it's a mix of Blueface Leicester and Romney lamb's wool. And this is why it's also, I mean, it is rustic, but it is softer than some of the yarns that I also touched. And the lady at the shop explained that it is because there is lamb's wool in it. Yes, and they had this really nice pair of mittens in the shop displayed. I'm gonna show it here. And the lady, she pointed it out to me, and that this yarn was used for them. And as she said, 2 skeins would be enough. So that is what I'm gonna do, because I don't think I have fancy mittens. I have 1 pair, but that is a dark brown, so I'm gonna do a light version. And also it has, I think it's called fishbone mittens, and it has these cool like ridges. So yes, I think that's gonna be cool. Woo! I think I talked for ages. Sorry. I guess for a first podcast I had a lot to show. But I hope it went smoothly and that everything worked with the setup, the audio and stuff. If you have any improvements, feel free to let me know. I decided to use my AirPods for, I hope, the best sound. But yeah, I am open for feedback and improvements. And yes, I hope you had a great time and also brought your knitting with you, of course, or a nice drink of coffee. And I mean, if this ever sees the light of day, and if I enjoy it, I already have ideas for videos that I could do. Like for one, I have I have many knitting gears to cover. So I think I could do my favorite knits of all time. I already talked about some of them, and maybe also my fails, because I did have a lot of fails. I guess I would even say it's like 50-50 if a knit turns out great or not. Yes, then also in my head I do have some plans or goals as a long time knitter there is still so much stuff that I haven't tried out, and like this year I really want to cast on projects that teach me something new or where I can experience something new. Saying that I just cast on stuff that I have already knitted, but that's the that's why you have goals, right? And then I also used up a lot of my stash yarn, which I have a lot of, not gonna lie, for the step-by-step sweater, and then also for the basic sweater and stuff. But I still have some random odds and ends lying around, and I really want to make an effort of using up my stash, or just also maybe selling stuff that I'm not excited about. But yes, that would also be something that I would love to talk about and also get your ideas. So I guess that's it. I hope you had a great time, and yeah, maybe see you in the next one.